Question number 4, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, can he update the House on the situation in earthquake-affected areas in the South Island?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, maybe it would be best if I just gave a quick summary of the most recent visit we've had there a couple of hours ago. What I can say is that on one hand, I think spirits are actually quite high in the Kaikoura region. There's been a significant additional support coming from police, coming from the military, coming from civil defence. The locals, I think, in that regard are feeling well supported by this Parliament and by the services that support them. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, what was clear is that there is real concern about the upcoming tourism season and the capacity for tourists to actually get into to Kaikoura because of the damage to road. I think the government will need to provide a business support package, and the Minister responsible, Stephen Joyce, is likely to make that announcement in the next 24 hours in a package which would be similar in nature, I think, to what took place in Christchurch. The only other point probably that's worthy of note for the House is that I think it's increasingly possible, if not likely, that the House will have to pass some sort of emergency legislation, and political parties will need to think about that. Just to give you one example, because of the lift in the seabed floor, the advice we got from those running whale watching was that it would only be able to operate for 2 hours a day. I think this House knows that to fix that issue would require some dredging, that would require a resource consent process that's likely to be very slow. I told the people, the business people locally, that I thought this Parliament was unified in its support of the people of Kaikoura in the region, and I thought that if emergency legislation was required, that enough political parties would support that to allow it to take place. I also mentioned it to Mark Solomon from Ngāi Tahu as a pretty interested stakeholder in what's taking place.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
To the Prime Minister, thank you for that. What specific updates does the Prime Minister have on the situation in small settlements like Hanma Springs, Cheviot, Parnassus, Rotherham, Culverden, Ward and Seddon?
Mr. Speaker,
the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I think it's fair to say they're each in slightly different places. Some have had electricity and the likes, fully restored. Some have not. There's an outreach campaign that is happening, so they're going out to all of those individual communities, they're visiting them, and they're trying to visit each of the individual farms and isolated houses to make sure that they've got the support that they need. There are, as I understand it, in the wider area, 22 farms there that are dairy farms. I met with the representatives of them. They're all Fonterra farms. They're dealing with the situation as best that they possibly can at the moment. So I think if you want a very detailed answer, we can obviously get that from the different departments, but I think they are literally going around dealing with the variety of issues, which all fit around the same areas. It's the restoration of electricity, water, telecommunications networks and roading access.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Prime Minister. Can I ask, has the Prime Minister received any updates or any information on the percentage of farmers and their families who are isolated and who have yet to be contacted?
The
Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
No, I don't have an exact number there, but I asked effectively that same question when we were in Kaikoura today, as we met representatives of each of the different disciplines or areas. They informed me that they have been going literally house by house, community by community. So I think there's been a lot of work happening to make sure that people are being contacted and are getting support. I can't hand on heart and say that every single house has been contacted because they weren't able to give me that assurance, but they're certainly working their way through it as rapidly as they can, and I got the impression they'd covered most of them off.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the Prime Minister, did he receive any briefings this morning as to whether residents in Mount Lyford Village had been contacted and asked if they need assistance, given the reports that are coming out that are saying people are being, quote, left to fend for themselves, unquote?
Mr. Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, and obviously, we'll follow up on those reports.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to the Prime Minister, did the Prime Minister have an opportunity to speak with Waiao Fire Chief Hugh Wells this morning, who was quoted in the British newspaper story posted at midday as saying, quote, "It has been very frustrating watching all the reporters flying around taking pictures but not landing to help us or seeing if we are okay," end of quote.
The Right Honourable
Mr.
Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
from memory, no, he wasn't there, but the fire service absolutely was there and regionally represented. They gave us an update of the number of fire service personnel and the work that they were doing. With respect, I mean, the journalists are having to rely for the most part on the military capability to get in and out of the areas. And so that in the first instance has been going to Kaikoura because of the logics of the number of people that are there. But we'll follow up on those issues. But people, communities are being dealt with as rapidly as they can, and certainly from the review that we got from the various different services, there is contact being made as best it can be.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the Prime Minister. Could the Prime Minister give the House an assurance that he will personally ensure that the 200 residents in Waiao who are camping out on grass and who are saying that they feel like they've been forgotten, having not had any contact or assistance up until now, are so contacted and that their circumstances are given some attention?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes, we'll follow up on that matter.